We are back to the next level show. Still Gabe and I alone, but by the next episode, we should have Mr. Mike Nillis at Mike Nillis PT on Instagram.
Fingers crossed. Fingers
yeah,
crossed.
Dude. Yeah, ironically enough, I went to the gym to go work out there just to go check it out.
And you ain't see him?
He wasn't there.
What the hell?
I was like, what, man? I literally just went for him. I mean, I had a free guest pass. My brother's now a member at that gym. He sees him, but I guess he left early that day. Ironically, the day that I go. So I made a video and I tagged him. I'm like, looking for Mike Nillis.
Where you at?
Yeah, it's a nice gym, man.
It looked big.
It's a good size. I mean, it's not massive, but it looks bigger from the outside, if that makes sense. But it's still a big gym. It has basically everything you need. So everything's new. Cable machines, dumbbells, everything's actually organized. It's where they're supposed to be. Let's see how long that lasts, right? That's always like the
always. It should be always. No, always. Why the hell is that not the case?
Of course, I 100% when you can't find things, but it's cool. They have bumper plates. They have a good amount of squat racks. They have the adjustable benches. So basically, anyone that I've never been in a crunch. So I think I've been maybe once actually in Fort Myers, but like the one in here, yeah. So it has everything you need for a gym goer. People are asking, "Oh, how was it?" I'm like, "It's a good gym." Do
they have like an astral turf area?
They do, and they also have the massage beds, the tanning beds. So they have like extra things that if you like that stuff, it's a good. I'm actually very interested, like. Because they're cheap. They're a cheap gym. Like their membership fees are not high.
I want to say it's
$10.
It's still $10. Okay, because that's what it was for me. Like when I used to go there, it was $10.
So it's $10, and then I guess if you add if you pay like $20 or 20 something bucks, you have access to the other gyms of the same chain. So if that's something that is important, people can benefit from it. I don't know if they're using the tanning bed and all that is extra. I don't know. I would have to double check with Mike.
I think that's an additional cost. I want to say it's $30 to use tanning beds, a hydro massage, and go to all clubs, or $10 just to go to that one specific club without access to those extra perks like the tanning bed and massage. And I want to say classes would be a perk as well for the other upgrades.
100, yeah. I mean, and that would be smart. I mean, obviously they have from what I've seen. They had a pretty decent PT staff, personal training staff, and
looks like
I saw a bunch of people walking around, which is cool to see. I mean,
Mike just already brings it all the way up to here, though.
Yeah, Mike brings it to that next level instantly. Oh. So, no pun intended. So
you were too quick.
It was too fast and people missed it. I'll do it again. No.
I said
what I said was if you're listening to the podcast no, but yeah, I'm super cool, man. I'm super excited for him, seeing what I know he's going to fill us in when he comes on. He has a lot to share with us. I saw a picture they posted of him and he looks so tired. You can tell the man's been putting in hours.
He has been.
Yeah. So that's the reason why he hasn't been on the show. For anyone that's wondering, we didn't kick him off officially. It's just he just temporarily took a leave of absence because if not, he literally physically couldn't do the show. Like he's working during this time. So we're holding.
You know what it would be? If anything, it would be like for the on the YouTubes. It would have both of us and him there, but just like laid back, like just sleeping, just passed out.
Well, no, just have like a still shot, like a profile picture, and just have him there, and then he's just there, and we like chime in, like, Mike, is that good? Cool, awesome. And it's like those like old cartoons where you like talk to the screen, but nothing.
Or give him the glasses with the eyeballs painted on
it. Oh man, so yeah, so hopefully I have him back. It looks cool, man. I liked it. It was nice. I mean, it's really hard for me to get excited when I'm at a gym, like. Because I'm so spoiled of training in a studio by myself with music that I want. No one's there. So I never literally have to wait for anything. I had to wait a couple times for a couple things. And it was like, I can tell that the habit is there. Before I used to train in big box gyms all the time. That was the only thing I did.
Hard.
So, that was kind of like my normal, like the people you would see consistently throughout the same times of the day. It's funny too. When I was there, I haven't experienced this in like a long time, but when I'm working out and I see people that I don't know them, but I know of them, and I'm sure they know of me based on, we're on social media or whatever. And I can see at the corner like of my peripheral, right? I can see them watching me train. Um, and granted, I'm not saying this in a cocky way, like I'm a big buff dude. No, it's more so just it's just funny because it's like, I know you, but yet we're not friends. So it's like it's kind of like, or maybe they are watching like what I'm doing. Maybe they're like interested, like, oh, he's doing like a Bulgarian split squat or he's doing a bench. It was just funny. I was just like, I can sense it. I'm trying to like block it out. Like I even like at one point I was working out kind of like with my eyes closed because the freaking light was right in my face. So I'm just there training, doing my thing. It was cool, man. It's definitely you can feel the upbeat vibe of the
Yeah,
place
yeah.
because everyone's excited. It's new. It's a new thing in town. And I went on a holiday day, so I wasn't that busy. So I imagine like normally it's gonna be like super packed. And they need it with the
Yep.
prices. The way I understand it, like if you're paying, like if that's the price fees, they would need to be having a high volume of memberships
Of
plus
course.
a lot of PT to maintain that building. But
Well, what are
we'll,
the other
we'll
options there, like around that same price point? It was what, Planet Fitness, I think it's there.
Planet
So
Fitness,
if
but
I'm,
now
which is the
they
same
have
price, isn't it? So then why wouldn't I go to Crunch instead of Planet Fitness, where I have a more variety of things to have access to? So
they also have the new LA. They had an LA Fitness in
did
our
they?
area. They did, and they changed it to that Sporta. I forget
Oh
the
yeah,
name of the
yeah,
gym.
yeah, yeah.
It's
I've
ten
seen
dollars
that.
a month. The only ones that right now are like over that are two gyms that are on the same road. So there's already three big gyms on that road alone on Pine Island Road. And there's around the clock and there's Mid Cape. Mid Cape, I believe, is still $20 a month. That's 24/7. And around the clock, obviously, hence the name around the clock is 24/7. That one I think stays at about $30 a month. So it's a big gym still, decent size. That's where everyone was at too. That in Mid Cape. So Mid Cape, when they opened up, it was a big deal. It was new, big. It was a
Hmm.
supermarket before, and then they turned it into a gym. You can tell by the slider doors that are no longer opening, but you can tell it was like a grocery. I think it was like an organic food store. I think that's what it was before. They turned it into a gym. That was the hype back in the day, a couple years back when I was training. A lot of my old videos come from that gym. And then when they remodeled around the clock, that became like the everyone transfer. It's funny because everyone like hops over to the other
Yeah,
gym,
yeah.
but I don't know if I'll get a membership. For people that don't know, I'm also moving very abruptly, so I have to find a place very quickly. So I guess it depends where I'll be living. If I
Hmm.
would sign up, let's say to that gym, it would make sense for me to live on the other side of town and just drive for that gym. So we'll see. Oh, it's been an interesting couple of days for the listeners that don't know. A lot going on. I always say like these are just inconveniences, but life is good. Overall, life is good. I can't complain. Nothing's wrong with my life. The other
You sure?
update that I have is like so the only other update that I have, right? I feel like we haven't gotten together in a while. So
Yeah.
you've seen my bourbon post every night,
Hmm.
right?
And you mentioned it a while. Didn't you mention that a while back?
Yeah, I did.
I want to say you mentioned it a while back about doing something like
Hmm.
this, and then
It
go
just
ahead.
happened. It just fell into a perfect place, but I didn't structure it any type of way. So I mentioned it a while ago. People that follow me on Instagram, I specifically say that I have a little bourbon emoji or just like bourbon connoisseur is what I say. And I don't know everything about bourbon, but I do enjoy bourbon over scotch. There is a difference for people that don't know. It's
I don't know.
so now I didn't know this at the beginning of September. There was a post that was made from a bourbon company that's saying this is a happy bourbon heritage month, like National Bourbon Heritage Month. So it's not just a day, it's the month of September. And I looked it up, I Googled it, and I was like, oh, this is an actual like legit thing. I had no idea. So I was like, I didn't tell anybody. I just started posting them every day. And then I had a couple people asking me like, what's going on, or oh cool, what kind of what bottles that people that I know that also like it,
Yeah.
because I have a small collection. and it takes me a while to rotate through all of them. And one of my other friends asked if I was okay, if there was something that was happening, because I guess the impression is that when you see that, I'm probably drinking more than one. That's probably the impression that you're getting, right?
Mm-hmm.
So to clarify, for our listeners that care, I'm not. Nothing is wrong with me. I have to clarify. My life is great, and I don't like to drink in excess, if that makes sense. Like I'm not the one that just every day would be just pounding multiple glasses of this, because it is very strong. For people that have had bourbon, you know how strong it is. They're usually about, compared to like a normal, maybe like a vodka or something, it's more towards the lower end, like 40%, alcohol content. The lower end bottle that I have is like 80, 85%. Then the other ones are 90 to 120%. So they're very strong. So I very pour like an ounce in a glass with an ice cube, and I sip on it. It's something that takes me about like 30 to 45 minutes to consume. So it's technically a shot. An ounce and a half is a shot. So imagine I'm taking a very long time to drink this. And I've just been doing it for the month. There's really no benefit to this. I'm still training hard. It hasn't messed up with my sleep. It hasn't messed up with my training, because it's such a small amount that I'm still focusing on other things. So just for people to know, it's just for fun. It's literally that's all that is. And I said, why not? I didn't tell anybody of my friends that I know would probably join me, but there's some days that I actually forget. This is how bad of an alcoholic I am, because like I forget that you're supposed to drink every day, right? For the month of September. So there was one moment, I shit you not, I woke up. Not that I woke up, I was already in bed. I brushed my teeth, did everything. Then I'm like, shit. And I'm like, I forgot to drink my little. So I went, I got up. I still did. I'm like, maybe I'll just double up tomorrow. But I'm like, I don't want to drink two. So I just got a little bit and I had the sip on it. So that was my only time that I kind of forgot. That was ironically enough on a weekend when you think it would be the more obvious choice. So, hey, I'm a really bad alcoholic if I am one. So,
But you're good.
yeah, everything's good. Positive, Gabe. I promise. I
Just
promise the
joking,
listeners too.
just joking. All right, well that's good. What do I have? So today, as of today, we're recording this on a Thursday. So big thing, just as you mentioned, I guess the comparison before today is the start of football, and that is American football, not soccer football.
So the
For
fake
those of you that
football.
are confused, the real one, exactly, like you said. So the better one. It starts today. It was pretty exciting with the Cowboys, whom teams I support, against the Bucks over here in Tampa, and we're kind of looking to go. So we can find some tickets at a pretty decent price. Which initially, it's a season opener, it's the Cowboys, it's the defending Super Bowl champions. All of those boxes checked off equals a higher ticket price, right? So, but if you were to wait till day of, you can find some really really good prices. So that's what we were doing. We saw, and we're kind of making arrangements to for grandparents to come over to watch the girls, so me and Jennifer can go. So that should be a good time heading up there
That'd be
to
fun.
Tampa. Yep,
Cool.
good stuff. And did you watch the video I sent you, the trailer
For the
for the
Matrix
Matrix?
trailer.
Which
Yes,
is
I did.
pretty crazy. I was just and when I first heard about another Matrix coming out, I was just like, I mean, I guess I'll go see it, but my expectations were like down here, fucking low,
Mhm.
right? Because I didn't really, I guess out of with each installment, it kind of kept on going down for me. Like the first one was
Mhm.
like all the way up here, second
Yeah,
was like
best.
down
The first one's
here,
the best.
third one was just like, okay, sure, you're putting a bow on it, you're tying it up, thanks. This one I was just like, I guess I'll go see it. But now when I saw the trailer, I was just like, okay, that's kind of cool. Different kind of take as to where they're at or what's going on. And for those who haven't seen yet, you should check out the trailer. But it looks as though Neo, he's back in the Matrix, right? And he doesn't know what's going on. He's taking all those blue pills to keep him there, and somehow he escapes again, and other people around as well. Like what's Trinity? She was also
Trinity. Yep.
there, and they met and they come across each other at either like a store or something, and then they're like, "Do I know you?" because of their connection
I'm
in the past
interested how
life.
they're gonna. I'm interested how they're gonna connect it because he's in the trailer. It's clear that he has flashbacks of his previous life.
Hmm.
It's almost like it's a reincarnation life.
Yes.
It's that's what it
Like,
seems
how
like
did he
that
get
they.
there? Right.
Yeah. So well, I guess more either another trailer will come out building up to it, or well, no, I'm excited to watch the movie. I think it's gonna be good. Hopefully, it's good. I mean, I'm kind when I saw the you saw the Morpheus guy, I was kind of like,
Yeah. I was like, why? I mean, why
I'm
don't you
like
just
why?
get, why wasn't the original guy there?
Yeah.
What's his
So
name?
he's
Whatever his name
Lawrence
is.
Fisher,
Lawrence
Lawrence
Fishburne.
something. And so yeah,
He's still
the trailer
around.
looks cool. They did a cool one. I don't know the before the trailer dropped, the one with the two pills, and you get to click the button. It'll give you like a clip. No, I'm
I
gonna send
didn't
you
see
the
that.
link of that one. You can click either red pill or blue pill, and it'll give you both two different like brief intros of the movie. Very interesting. I like the concept of the Matrix. I think it's very cool, especially in like our modern times. Even that movie back then was way ahead of its time.
Yes.
So now I think it's like it makes more sense for a lot of people because obviously technology is so advanced. So you can
Hmm.
probably you can associate with certain things. And I'm very excited. I also know he's doing John Wick, so I know that's probably why he maintained his hair the way he did.
Uh,
You know,
Not about that.
I
I
like
didn't
the
care for that
classic.
movie.
I like the classic Neo.
Yes.
Buzz cut Neo, but it is what it is. I'm excited for it either way. So let's see what happens. I had to something fitness
Hold on.
related.
But before you go, real quick. Speaking on movies, over the weekend we continued our movie seeing I guess trip or whatever. We saw the Shang-Chi, Legend of the Ten Rings. And
I knew you were gonna go do that. Yeah, how was it?
yeah,
Good.
it was
I
really
heard
good.
good things.
Yeah, yeah, no, everyone's been saying it was really good. It's as of now, it's like the highest uh Rotten Tomatoes rated movie from
Okay.
Marvel with 98%. I mean, like I mean, was is it one of their better ones? Yes. Is it their best one? I mean, there's certain aspects that are really great because it's kind of like almost a kung fu movie ish, right? With a lot of it has I guess like the soul of a kung fu movie with not only the fighting but just the backstory and everything. But it's very modernized. It's really engaging. It has some interesting characters in there. I really enjoyed it, and I would encourage others to go see it as well because it's really good and it's fat and it's also it's interesting and intriguing as to where they would go from here with the characters they introduce because they obviously will include them in future movies and it's more of like how is that going to intertwine with everything else that's going on.
I
There
gotta
you go.
check it out. I gotta make some time. I haven't been to a movie in over a year, a movie theater. So maybe I'll make some time to go check it out for sure.
Yeah.
I was gonna share a little bit of my update with my fitness stuff. I know we dropped an episode about properly like increasing your calories, why we would do so, the mindset behind bulking. We did an episode, I want to say about 2 weeks ago. And I've been applying this for the last like 5 weeks or so. And I started about for people that like, we kind of do typically when we make episodes or stuff like we've either done it, we're doing it, or we're thinking about doing it. So I've been doing this whole process before I even dropped the episode, and I've been about 5 weeks in currently just with eating higher calories intentionally, trying to get those calories in, a little bit more meals throughout the day if possible, if needed, sorry, and training, getting stronger, all that good stuff. So just for people that we apply it, I was at starting roughly, but want to give or take 168 ish, and I'm now about 173.3 or 4 or something like that. So let's say 173. So about 5 pound differences in about a 5 week time frame. So about a pound a week. Very fast for a surplus at my point right now. I can feel that I'm filling out. Obviously, it's not all muscle. You didn't gain 5 pounds of muscle in 5 weeks. I wouldn't say. I would predict maybe like about 2 pounds of muscle, pound or two of whatchamacallit, water and or fat, then the last pound or two of fat. Or maybe shit, 1 pound of muscle. That'd be awful. So like, but overall, I feel pretty good. Now for people that just a little brief thing on if someone that's doing this, and we're transitioning to like the fall/winter time. I know people are going to start shifting gears. Maybe you're getting out of that summer mode. if you live in different areas where it gets cold and you're just like, you know what, I want to build some muscle, I want to get bigger. Ladies, I want to get more toned and build my butt and my legs. Guys, I want to build my up, build my physique. This is just a little note for anyone that's doing this. Just because the scale goes up very quickly is not always a good sign unless you're a very small beginner, especially when I was very like my early days when I was very skinny. There, I could sacrifice a little bit more and push harder on the surplus because I was so new that everything was primarily just building muscle at a very like rapid rate. And that's like typically your first year is where you're going to see the most gains. Year or two, give or take, is where you're going to see the most muscle. Especially if you're new, or if you're coming from a long layoff and you've had a big physique before, or like a very like a decent amount of muscle built. So rule of thumb, guys, don't have to be like just going up. At this point, I want to keep it contained at that 173 because I haven't been over 170 pounds in a good amount of time. So if I can solidify that, it's a good strategy to go into this in the next couple of months for anyone that's doing this transition. It's very smart. Don't worry about the increase. Focus on the weightlifting. Obviously, try to keep body fat at a minimum. It will come. It's part of the process. Be okay with it. I know some people were. I was talking to someone yesterday. Were messaging me about their coaches putting on the program to build muscle, and then they were feeling like, I'm getting a little bit puffy. But puffy in this case might be they're just getting a little bit softer, less defined. So this is just something to keep in mind. This is part of it. And I'm trying to maintain this for about another month or two, give or take, at a nice like 170, 175 range. I think that'd be more than enough to make some good moves. And then when I do a nice cut, then it would be like, I can sit at 165, 168, same weight that I started at, maybe not as like, solid, but then you can change drastically the composition of your body. The weight is only going to be one factor here. So just wanted to show that to the listeners if you guys are thinking or transitioning into this phase.
That would be a good, I guess, direction or mindset to have when you're transitioning into that phase. But if you were to be going in the other direction, how would you incorporate cardio into it?
And I'm glad you asked, Gabriel, because this is what the episode primarily is going to be about to finish up, the last portion of the show.
Really?
Talking about car. Yeah.
Oh, good timing. Wow, look at that.
Look at that. It's like almost like we're already synchronized again. It's like I didn't tell you anything before the show, right?
No.
So for the listeners, we're going to break down a little bit of cardio because I know this is still something, regardless if you're bulking or cutting, it doesn't matter. The cardio can still be coming into play here. Now, yep. What it's more known for general population is a tool for weight loss / fat loss. And I wanted to cover this because I got a couple questions asked in different portions of this, some regarding as to when should I do it in my program? Should I do it before? Should I do it after? We'll cover that. Some people are asking the differences between, a HIIT style training, more of like a LISS style training of cardio. And some people just don't understand, like, what's the difference? Like, is cardio with weights? Is it cardio just running and doing endurance type things? So we're going to break that all down for you guys. And hopefully you guys can take away some good golden nuggets.
Yeah, it's cardio anything past 12 reps.
Yeah, that's or like 8. The old my bro mentality. Absolutely. Anything that was higher than 8 reps,
double digits,
instant cardio. So
there you go.
But for people that don't know, basically to sum it up, cardio is as you see it, cardiovascular exercise. It's typically an aerobic form of exercise. Basically, it's anything from a low to high intensity style training, depending on how you want to do it. So that, not to get too scientific, but those are the general terms that you'll hear thrown around. Aerobic training is typically, you can see, even if it's with weights, it's going to be more of that high endurance style of training. And this can come in many forms, like we just mentioned. This can be anything from as basic as a walk. You're just doing very low intensity, or maybe a little brisk walk where it gets you going a little bit, but it's not like super daunting or taxing.
One where you can maintain a conversation.
Correct. And then all the way to the other side where it's you're full out sprinting, or you're doing something to max effort where you're leaving it all there. That's another, all falls under the aerobic style of exercise. Um, I know this is kind of important because people think that it's funny. Like even me before I felt guilty of this, not thinking that cardio walking was a
Oh
form of
yeah, no.
cardio that or that it would do much, right?
I
I was
said, I
saying
was
like,
like, what the hell are you doing? You're wasting your damn time. Just get the hell off, go back to your desk or go back to doing whatever. You ain't doing shit.
yep.
I was wrong.
And when clients would say this, or if a client told me, I had a couple clients in the last like year or so that would come to me and they had already started some type of exercise and starting to get more aware of what they wanted to do and lose some weight. So they started, incorporating walks just for a couple minutes, and to a point they were walking a couple miles a day. And
Yeah.
they would go to a park or something, and they lost 15 to 20 pounds just from incorporating more walking. And obviously I already knew at this point, I already understood the value because I had competed and I had incorporated steps. I had incorporated like, the awareness of the wearable. We obviously came across this information a couple years back of like the importance, there's substance there. It does matter. And it definitely, for someone that's not doing anything, it can definitely make a big change and kickstart you in the right direction and get you going where it's everyone, for the most part, as long as you have an able body, you can walk, from point A
Yes.
to point B. Maybe you don't start right away and do something so crazy because it would genuinely tire you out. The people that are severely overweight or obese, walking 10 minutes would make them out of breath. So there's already challenging the body in a cardiovascular way, which is super advantageous because we know that the adaptation process for cardio is quite fast for most
Yep.
people. You can see
Damn near from
substantial
one day to the
change.
next.
Yeah, literally, you can see substantial change like happening. Boom, like, in a couple of weeks, you're like already walking 10 minutes to 30 to 45 minutes, if you're staying consistent with it daily. So it's definitely like an easy open barrier. So cardio, I got to leave it out there for, it's as simple as walking.
Yeah, and one example of how your body can adapt to a form of cardio from one day to the next, and I experienced this myself. I said, oh, let me go on a spin bike because I had one at work. And I got one on, no lie. Like 3 minutes later, I was like, I need to get off this. I'm about to pass out. And then the next day, literally the next day came around, and I was there for like 10 minutes. So that just showed me, and that's an example of your body adapting to a specific movement, set of movement, and how it says, okay, if you want to do this, let's get better at this, and you do. So that's just one example of that, and one reason as to why walking, or there's many benefits to walking, not only just fat loss, but one of those benefits is that since it's so unplanned and so random, both at the time of day that you do it, the amount that you do it, it's harder for the body to adapt to it, which is why it's one of the better ways to use activity. And that's another way. It's a way you can track activity. Like, how the hell can you track if you just like, just moving around or just, tapping
Mhm.
your leg or your hand just moving or whatever? You can't gauge it. You can't measure that. You can't say, oh, I tap my leg, I tap my feet, I don't know, 100 times today. Did you really? I mean, how do you measure that? You count each
Yeah.
one? Did you not miss any at all? So do you stay there with a counter? 1, 2, 3. That doesn't sound feasible or sustainable. But walking, it can be, which is why we advocate to walking and also wearable trackers where you can keep track of it to to see where
Our
you're at and
our Spy Kid watches.
exactly the Dick Tracy watches, and it'll let you know, hey, you did X amount today, or it can let you know, hey, you barely moved. You better get your ass and get about there. So that's the benefits to walking and how it can be a form of cardio.
Absolutely. And you made a good point about like people, like what you were describing was like fidgeting,
Yeah,
and we classify this. We made an episode about NEAT, and we might revisit this topic again because these are all hacks. I'd say hacks and like, things that we became super aware of that we didn't factor into the equation of, this could help a client or, anyone make progress,
yep.
and we know that a little progress is 1% better is a form of progress. It doesn't have to be 20, 30, 40% better increase to count 1%. And this can be I've noticed this about myself. Watch someone that's naturally smaller. That's they can't gain weight for the life of them. Most cases because these people don't have a big appetite. That's a big thing. They say that they eat a lot. You know how it is. Like at the end of the
Yeah.
average, they've maybe had one big day where they smashed a lot of food, but the other days they're skipping meals all over, having very small portions. But also watch is what they do when they're sitting still. And I'm one of these people.
Oh, yeah,
I've
me
noticed
too.
because
I'm sure you can see it even on the show right here. Like if you watch it on YouTube, if
you
you
can see
see
it like
anything,
we're just there like just trying to burn some calories. We're just there. Don't worry, I'm not dying. It's not like alcoholic withdrawals. So, but basically, like I have the habit that I'm always tapping my feet. I'm
hmm
moving things. I'm scratching my even though I've caught myself the habit. I don't even need to do anything. I'm just keep moving my hands. I talk a lot with my hands. I'll tap on the computer. I'll move the mic around. I'm always doing something. I can't. I've noticed this about myself. I can't sit still. And you pay attention, just people like if you're just listening, just pay attention to someone that you know is constantly doing small little movements very often. And those are forms of this so-called neat non-exercise activity thermogenesis, stuff that doesn't classify as exercise, but it's still movement. um it's very interesting. I didn't think of this, and it's like, yeah, like you're constantly twitching, tapping your feet, moving, adjusting. I don't understand. I have to like look as to the reason why. It's just habits that people have, but it's interesting that doesn't count. But I don't want to make the episode solely on that. We're going to make sure that we're focusing on the cardio piece. And if you guys, we did do an episode, but on that, you just have to look for it. I forget what episode it is exactly,
maybe one to
but
revisit again in a
but
later
it's
one.
definitely a revisit. It's definitely valid because this makes a big difference. So back to cardio, so we've gone to the lower end where it's low intensity steady state cardio, which is your form of walking, a very brisk like walk where you're still, like Gabe says, holding a conversation. So that's one form that's like on the lower end. I recommend this for more people when it comes to if you're already doing a lot of heavy lifting, a lot of training with weights, you're already putting your body through a lot of stressors. I think this is a great way to add more movement, burn more calories, and also help with the recovery process of your training.
Yep.
Also, if you're the person that is already a high stressed individual and live a very fast paced life, ironically enough, though, it's not the person that wants to do this type of cardio. And I want the listener to like listening, examine your life and your personality traits and like how you live. Do you gravitate naturally towards that high intensity stuff, but you already live a very pretty stressed, like high paced, stressful life? And I'm not saying a negative. I'm just saying like you're constantly doing things all the time. You would probably benefit more from the lower intent. Yeah, it won't burn an astronomical amount of calories compared if you compare them session per session, but I pay attention, like just try it, do more low, still do your cardio, but do more low state, like read a book, an audible, like you're listening to a podcast. This podcast would be great, to get through a cardio session
It's the
and pay
best way.
attention to what,
Best way
absolutely. And
to incorporate it.
and pay attention to what happens and watch your recovery and stuff and still keep your weight training, keeps a couple of intense sessions throughout the week, but incorporate instead of more high intensity cardio, incorporate more of this list cardio, and you would probably notice an improvement in your overall physique goals and all that other stuff.
Yeah, so when I mentioned before about walks having many other benefits to it, this is one of them where you would take the individual that is very like, A-type and high stress and always on the go and wanting to do all kind of things and forcing them to slow down and almost either be with their thoughts or just listen to something without having to, be at the high end of whatever kind of activity that they're doing. They're walking, right? And it's a little easier to control because I'm someone who, if I were to for whatever reason that I happen to just jump on a treadmill or go outside for a run or whatever, every time it turns into a sprint, and I just gas myself out without fail, every single time. However, I can go out for a walk and I'll be fine. Like maybe my walk might be just slightly faster because I want to hurry up and get someplace. Well, actually, no, I'm lying to you. If I'm at the supermarket or if I'm outside, I'm moving, I'm walking with a purpose. But if I go out to walk, like let's just say I'm going to go, for with an intention of walking, I actually tend to slow down a lot more and be more again with the intention of what I'm trying to do, which is just walk and just kind of get some steps. It's not getting there as fast as possible. It's just more about the movement. So this is that was one of the benefits that I was mentioning to walking, and one that it can be incorporated into whatever kind of thing that you're trying to do, whether it be on the surplus or on the cutting, whatever. You can still always incorporate it and just manage it appropriately. If you want to be more like in a cutting phase, then you just add some more steps to it. If you want to be more in a surplus, I would still say to have the walks, to your point, which is a great point. It's a way to have activity but not add so much stress to your body and to your life. More like let's you calm down and aids in that recovery aspect. So great point there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to clarify, we'd mentioned bulking and cutting to incorporate some forms of cardio. If you do it properly, obviously people only associate and throwing it in there when they are trying to lose weight. But when
Mm-hmm.
you're trying to aid muscle building, incorporating low intensity state, walking, light jog, if you like to jog, elliptical work, bike work, all that's going to contribute because you're going to be healthier. You're going to
Mm-hmm.
improve, it's more so, I would say, that don't look at it just from a calorie burn. I want to, make the point to say it's not just for losing weight. We have advocated before, that's not the primary tool you should be using to lose weight. Can it help and be one thing? Absolutely. But what the main purpose of cardio should be in your routine is to make you fundamentally healthier. People say, like, you have to choose between weights and cardio. We don't live in a time that you have to. So if you can incorporate both in some form or shape, it's good. Some people like to do it in sports and physical activity. That's fine too. But for the average person that doesn't like play that or have like time to go meet up with people, they want to do something for themselves, find something that's like, that aids them. Because what you're going to notice, if you're still focused on building muscle and changing your physique, you're going to build your work capacity in your body to be able to
Yep.
train harder on those sessions. So don't get misguided. Even if you're trying to bulk, I wouldn't say do an excess amount. This is where people get confused. You don't want to be doing a shit ton of cardio and counteracting what you're doing, but you want to do it in a way that's going to boost your muscle building potential in the gym, because you have a healthier heart, you get more blood flow, you have a better gas tank to push for more intense, longer sessions if need be. So, like we said, a healthier body is just going to work with you in either direction of where you want to go. So, do it for primarily health. If for fat loss, we'll kind of incorporate what's the difference if doing it before or after really matters and stuff. But to clarify, on the other form is HIIT, on HIIT cardio. This is more the high intensity interval training style. High intensity cardio, this can be done in the form of weights, using weights. Some people would like to do it with weights, and I think it's a pretty efficient way of incorporating, because you're still
If you do
incorporating
it
a
the right
strength.
way.
If you do it the right way, of course, and you're incorporating a strength component with your training. Now, what happens is that a lot of people normally would do this in a form of a class, in a form of that's their only way of training. And I will say that it's a great way to, I guess, like do make some progress, but as fast as that progress will come when it comes to that style of training, you won't build the most impressive physique. If you care about aesthetics, you care about being somewhat symmetrical, and you care about a specific region of the body that you want to improve, I wouldn't say that this is but your best approach. Like we said, using the different forms of cardio as a supplement, as an additional tool, something to make be fun for you, or some extra conditioning, or just a way to kind of challenge yourself for a short amount of time. I would say that HIIT cardio, it's great for time efficiency because you can usually do it in about 10
20
minutes,
minutes.
20 minutes, 30 minutes tops usually. And then you can, but the only negative is that it can be a little overwhelming for you if you, like I said, you're lack of sleep, already stressed out and currently all the time. It is a higher stressor on the body, so it may take
High.
away from your recovery if done too much in excess. So I think this is a good thing to keep in mind.
So when I mention about making sure that you're doing it properly, and that goes in one, the amount of time that you're doing it, because if you take a HIIT class and your HIIT class is like 40 minutes, an hour long, that's not a HIIT class, or you're doing it wrong, because it
Just
should
doing
be
long, high intensity cardio, just long term.
exactly. because when you're talking about high intense HIIT training, it's like a sprint would be, it's typically included in a HIIT training, right? And a sprint
Mhm.
isn't just, let's just run a little bit faster than a jog a couple of times. No, a sprint is going all out. So that's what you should be doing, going all out for a short amount of time. Like how long would you say? About 10, 20, 30-second stops,
Depends on the
give or
duration.
take?
A full sprint, I think the max, like you're gonna get like the most out of your sprint is probably like 100 meters,
Mm-hmm. So
like
then,
the track length of a side.
yep. So, but I'm just saying you would go all out for a
Yeah.
short amount of time. Then you wait, maybe rest for like 30 seconds tops, and then you start all over again. So that would be an example. And then can you really maintain that for about an hour? It's hard pressed to do that. And it goes back to what
Yeah.
you mentioned about how it's a very, very high stressor on the body. So even if you were to do this properly by incorporating this in a short amount of time, which is very, very efficient, you wouldn't stay in this kind of phase or this kind of training style for an extended period of time. Maybe like what, like 3 weeks, month tops, right? Because then you might start seeing some negative effects. What would be them? Maybe like some joint pain, some aches because of the high stressor that you're putting on the body.
I think that people are drawn to this because it's cool. I mean, and I think it is
Yeah,
a
it
lot
looks
of fun
cool.
if you incorporate. Typically, you'll see this in sports, or you see an athlete do something very impressive, and there is a time and place for it. And I think it's a great way to incorporate your training if you want to. Like I said, program properly, it can actually aid muscle building because there is like that fast twitch muscle fiber component to it. All that means is basically the muscle fibers that are responsible for that explosive power, that this goes for strength, and this also goes for when you're sprinting. You're using force to move yourself through space as fast as fast as you can. So that requires, versus like when you're doing like a long jog, you're pacing yourself, you're using more of your slow twitch muscle fibers, more for the endurance piece. So both are important to do certain things and certain tasks. But you notice, let's say like in the Olympics, like just happened with you see the sprinters, the bodies of the sprinters compared to like the long distance runner. You see a
Totally
very,
different.
I would Google this if you don't believe me. Like, watch the physiques of these sprinters. They're very muscular, very built, and they're definitely not sprinting for hours and hours and hours. They're doing it in a way that's programmed because it is very tough, and higher risk of injury and all that in some
Yep.
cases if your form is off. And then the long distance runners have more of a lean, softer look. Some are very skinny because their
Mm-hmm.
body is primarily built to just last a long time. Now, these are just like, just two spectrums, just to kind of give you an idea. But a high intensity cardio, like I said, burns more calories, maybe on a side by side in a shorter amount of time. But you shouldn't stick to either or. Now, some people are going to gravitate more towards one and the other. We know this. Now, our advice is you have to examine if it's hindering your goals, if it's taking away, either or, and make a shift. Or if you're someone that lives only on low intensity, throwing in a couple weeks of high intensity stuff would make a difference. And if you're the other one that lives on the high intensity spectrum, switching over to the low intensity stuff for the majority of your training should be more maybe focus on that. You'll notice a nice shift and change in pace, the way you're feeling, and maybe some of the progress that you're making.
Now, let's just say you're someone who is more on you gravitate towards the high intensity training, and that's where you live. Going back to our earlier point of the body adapting to whatever type of activity that you add to it. If you love the high intensity training and you love the results that you get from it, imagine the results that you'll get if you step away from that for about like 2 weeks and then come back to it. You'll get those same type of benefits and effects and gains that you got initially in the first place, and that may have slowed down. So that would be another way that I kind of like talk to people as to if I tell them, hey, let's go for walks or let's do this. And they're like, no, I'd rather run instead. I'm like, okay, well, great. If you love running for the effects that it gives you, why don't we step away from about like, for a week or two and then come back to it? And then you'll get those like probably tenfold.
Yep, absolutely, 100%. So another point that I want to kind of shift over and is So just to clarify, for fat loss, it's going to be, it's going to be a tool. This can also aid your muscle building process. If you're someone that's not in a calorie deficit, you're not cutting, you're going to go ahead and just aid your gas tank for your muscle building, for your training, for your hard training sessions. You're just building up that endurance in the body, just the overall capability. We said that this is, most people use it for fat loss and weight loss. This is a tool. This can help someone that maybe is already plateauing with nutrition. We know that the main focus, if you're trying to lose weight, is going to be through your food, navigating that, taking a little bit away. And that way you have already create your caloric deficit without trying to manually burn it off. Now, you would maybe maybe start with some low intensity style of cardio to kind of aid the calorie burn, just so you have a point of reference. And then you may increase that over time incrementally, just to keep adding to the calorie expenditure for you when it comes to weight loss. Now, the last point we want to make is, should you do cardio before or after your weightlifting sessions? This is something that's still a common misconception. People put a little bit too much emphasis on this, but I want to clarify, there is science to support either or. What do you think, Gabe?
I always say, and I always recommend to put it on the back end. Now, I like to have it on the back end because regardless of whatever direction I'm going to, like, let's just say if I'm training for whatever kind of style, whether it be for a surplus or a deficit, and I'm going to go to continue to incorporate weightlifting, then if I'm going to go and I'm going to squat, if I'm going to deadlift, I'm going to overhead press, those are some movements that it takes a lot from the body, right? So from a CNS standpoint, and if I'm doing that, why would I want to come into it not at the highest that it can be when walking into my training? So that's why I like to add it towards the end. Now, I don't see any kind of plus or minus by having, as far as the cardio standpoint. Will my weightlifting affect my cardio standpoint? Maybe not as much as it would be, as your weightlifting would be affected if you start off with cardio. So that's why I kind of like put it towards the tail end. That's what I'd say. What do you say?
So to kind of like give the listeners a point of reference when it comes to what does the literature say on this? Basically, to sum it up, studies will show that if you are prioritizing endurance, like that is your main focus out of your training, then doing cardio prior to your strength training would be probably advantageous. If you care more about building strength, maybe speed, technique and power, and just building muscle overall, then cardio after weight training would be more ideal and advantageous for that. That's what most people are chasing, is unless you're someone that's like prioritizing a 5K or like a marathon, it's a different, you're then supplementing your training with weight training to support your overall goal, because you don't want to be too heavy to run. You want to be a little bit more efficient with your body. Now, most people are just trying to look better, look good. So we would recommend doing cardio after or separate from the weight training. That's what the science says. And the science is there to kind of give you some backing, so you like can make a decision based on that. What I always tell with clients or anyone that asks is, because some people, this is the truth. If once you're done with your weight training session, you don't want to do cardio for the most part. Most people kind of just want to leave. So if you're someone that really struggles to to latch them on together, and you're just dead and you're just tired, you're not going to be able to go later to do your cardio or something, then maybe doing it before real quick, knocking it out, if it's nothing too crazy, may not be a bad thing. Is it the most ideal? And I say this in quotation marks for people listening on the audio version. It's, if you got to do what's going to be, we're going to allow you to be more consistent. If cardio is going to be somewhat part of your regimen, so that's going to vary more towards your consistency. We know that ideal things have a weight and merit. We know that there's benefits of eating meals at this time or before, after your meet, after your certain foods before you train, certain meals, timing afterwards, and all those things have value. But at the end of the day, like if you're covering the big rocks, you're still getting your weight training session, you're still getting your cardio in, you're prioritizing your nutrition, you're dialing in for the most part, you're at that 80% mark of consistency, you're kind of, and you're getting all those, you're checking all those big boxes off. If you do it before, it's not going to take away so much of your progress. I don't want people to live in like, oh shit, I gotta do it, after, like, there's no way I'm going to lose all
Yeah.
my gains. It doesn't work like that, but there are, like I said, I will be honest, there are some studies that show that, there are benefits from doing it before or after. Is value there. So take that, take a look at what you're doing right now. If you want to make that switch and apply certain things, go for it. So I know some people that compete that do before and after, but what they normally will do is that they'll separate them from their sessions for by a couple hours and make sure that they're getting a couple meals in them and all that other stuff. So it just depends on the individual.
And so going back to what I was going to say is, even though I said that I would recommend it on the after, but on the back end, your example is it's a great a point where putting in the beginning would be more beneficial for them because it's better to have it done than nothing. And for those that are on the fence, I would say try both and see how you feel. If you do it and you feel like as if there's a decline in your performance or your output in the weight room, then maybe it's best on the back end. However, if you see minimal to no difference, then just keep it there, right? So it goes back to the individual, see what works best for you, even though studies show, even though I would primarily recommend that, I would always go back and say, well, what do you think? How do you feel? Do you want to have it now? Then go ahead, just have it.
The only thing I would advise, the only type of cardio that I would advise never doing before your strength training session, if you have like a heavy session lined up, is HIIT style training before you train. Like if you're going to lift with weights, finish off, because since HIIT's so short, you can latch it on much easier 10, 12 minutes after your weightlifting. And that can be an easy way to incorporate more calorie burns at the end because you're done. You're just depleting that last bit of energy, last bit of glycogen, whatever. You're going to be doing that after your weightlifting session. So that would be the only one that I would say I really don't recommend doing that one before. But if it's some like low intensity stuff, a light,
elliptical
walk,
bike,
elliptical, a little bit of
treadmill.
bike, you can always do it before if you want
Even
to
the
just get it
rower.
out so you don't have to worry about it. The rower. But anything super high intensity, definitely keep that on the back end or separate from your weight training if you're prioritizing, getting stronger, building muscle and all that good stuff. But I think that covers this topic pretty well.
Actually, I will add one more point there. So we were just mentioning towards right there, different versions of cardio, like we said, elliptical, the treadmill, the bike, mentioned the rower. If you are someone who wants to incorporate cardio for weight loss, I would say, have you tried cycling through the different types of machines or different types of cardios? Go for a week of just doing the rower if you typically do the elliptical. Go for a week of just doing a treadmill if you're used to doing something else. So just try them out, try different kind of versions, see how you feel, see how you like them, see how it affects you. You should feel when you jump on it like the same way that I felt when I just jumped on a spin bike for the first time, where I was just like, holy shit, I can barely do this, just because you're not used to that type of movement. So it's just something worth noting. Is it going to be a big game changer? Probably not, but it can perhaps help to continue moving the needle forward as opposed to slowly coming along or whatever. So just if you want to.
This is true. I 100% agree. So I think we covered this pretty well. Listeners, if you have any questions regarding this topic, feel free to shoot us a message on the Instagram at The Next Level Show or any of our personal accounts. Gabe, do you have anything, closing thoughts, anything we need to add? Your section of the show.
Yeah, I got something. So a buddy of mine told me that he was at the bar the other night, excuse me. That'd be weird during the day. He was at the bar and then he met a girl. And she was like, hey, I promise I'll show you a good time. I was pretty excited. Got outside. She ran 100 meters in 9.72 seconds. It's a good time, right? I'd say it's a good time.
Oh, man. Well, listeners, you heard it here first at The Next Level Show. Go ahead and share this episode.
Careful with fast women.
Go ahead and share this with anyone that could benefit from this information. If you like it on YouTube, give us a little thumbs up and subscribe to the YouTube channel. If you're just listening to the audio version, we appreciate it. Leave us a 5-star rating review. That would always be helpful. Check us out on Instagram at The Next Level Show. My personal account is at John Alva Fitness. Gabe is at Prime and Glory. And Mike, he's at Mike Nillis PT. And until the next one.